Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks postgame podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome in. I'm Jay Zawaski with Mario Tirabassi. Greg Boysen will join us shortly from the very empty United Center. This was not a hot ticket. Let me tell you, I was there for the first two periods. And the Native American Heritage Night stuff was really cool, and it's a shame that so few people were there to see it. But Hawks lose 3-1 to the Islanders in one of the least interesting hockey games I've seen in my whole life. And, you know, credit to the Islanders. They've got a great penalty kill, but they play a boring-ass brand of hockey.
Yep.
I keep a little game log in my Apple Notes here on my Mac. And the only notes I have for the second period are the times of the two power plays.
Yeah.
Like, there was just
felt
nothing happening.
Yeah, it was, I mean, just someone before this season said about the Blackhawks, well, they're not going to be good, but at least they'll be high event. And I wish that was the case tonight because it was tough to watch this game and just watch how the Islanders just can suffocate you into boredom. And the Blackhawks, granted, they're not the most high-flying offensive team.
No.
But they have some guys that can create some sort of excitement, and none of it was had tonight.
I mean, things picked up in the second and third. So with about 12 minutes left in the second, the Hawks had a total of 6 shots on goal. They ended the game with 22. So the last, period and a half, they picked things up a little bit. There was a little bit more going on, but there were still a lot of one and done opportunities and not a lot of high danger stuff. It was just a really tough game to watch. And for the 12,000 plus that were there at the United Center, it was just kind of a sucky game. And you could see why tickets were $9 on Game Time ahead of the game today, because we were talking before we went on the air. There's not really anyone on the Islanders who draws in fans. Anders Lee is a nice player and Matthew Barzal, and they've got good players, but no one that people are going to go out of their way to watch. Like we said, they play a real boring brand of hockey, and it was just it was a very Islanders kind of game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, the biggest thing to come out of this game is the first 3 minutes where Casey Cizikas runs over Alex Stalock, gets a game misconduct, and is tossed from the game. And Alex Stalock is out of the game with an injury, and in comes Arvid Soderblom. It's just an unfortunate situation for Stalock. I don't think on the broadcast, Troy Murray was very adamant about Cizikas intentionally going through Stalock. I don't think he had the intention of running through Stalock, but I think he didn't make the extra effort to not.
He did not avoid
him. So,
and when the referees review the play, and then they're like, "Oh, it's not just 5.
Right?
You're also gone for the game." It looked bad. So Greg and I were talking because on the heels of the Max Domi Patrick Kane thing from the last game, there was no reaction to Alex Stalock getting run, and I sort of thought. And we mentioned this last game when you were, doing your post-game stuff. Sometimes when a teammate is injured and it looks really bad, you're so freaked out that you kind of forget to react that way. And I think that might have been the situation with this one. Is clearly Stalock was down. He was not really moving.
Right.
He at one point he did kick his right leg up a little bit and then started to stand up. But there was a lot of concern from not just the Blackhawks but the Islanders. We're in there too, oh God, is he okay?
Yeah, because where the point of contact kind of came through him was obviously on his head, but also was in his collarbone neck area, just ugh. It was a scary hit, and he did take some time to get back to his feet. So I could totally see why the initial hey, don't run my goalie, I'm gonna jump you mentality really wasn't there, because it was hey. My teammate is kind of down in a bad way. So I can understand that. And I mean, I think for the entirety of the game, at least for the first period, I would have thought there would have been a little bit more of a jump from the Blackhawks trying to respond to that. And it just, I don't know if it was just that the Islanders just did a good job of negating any kind of offensive push that they tried to get, or if the Blackhawks just didn't have the oomph to really get behind it offensively tonight. But it was just something wasn't there, just something wasn't clicking enough. And like you said, a lot of here's our rush, here's our opportunity, all right, that was it. Just didn't really seem like a lot of sustained offense.
No doubt, and I think sometimes you see when a team gets a 5-minute power play, they don't show a lot of urgency. They know they've got time. They want to we see this sometimes with a 5-on-3, where on a 5-on-3, you're kind of going for that one shot.
Yeah.
You're setting up for that great opportunity. I think sometimes you'll see a team, with a 5-minute power play say, we've got all the time in the world. If we can get a goal here, that's a win. Mm-hmm. And there was not a lot of urgency on that 5-minute power play either. Granted, and it's true, the Islanders have the league's best penalty kill. They have going into the game, they had a 96% penalty kill rate.
They said on the broadcast, I caught it, it was 29 of 30 penalty kills.
Yeah, and the Hawks got a power play goal tonight on the Islanders, which is, we'll get to that as we go on here through the scoring. But credit the Islanders. They play that suffocating style, especially on the road where there's no pressure for them to put on any kind of show.
Right.
And, you talk about wanting to take advantage and play with some fire after the injury. Well, that lackluster penalty kill, Dale Talon used to say this all the time. If you kill that 5-minute power play, that is a huge momentum turn.
Boost,
huge moment. And Quenneville used to say that about a 5-on-3. Whoever wins the 5-on-3 is going to win the game. Well, right?
we saw that a few games ago where the Blackhawks had, a 5-on-3 to kill. They had the extended 5-on-4s, and it was just they had 6 penalties to kill in one period, and they killed them all, and they got a standing ovation after the period was over. So huge. Killing those penalties is a big boost, no matter if you're the home or the road team. So,
yeah, it certainly picked up the Islanders, and they never really let their foot off the gas in this one. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it was such a low event game. There's not a lot of individual moments that stood out. I think I will say this is Philip Russe's second NHL game today, right? Third?
No, he's played at least 3. This might have been his 4th. I'll double check.
Whatever number it was, it was, to me, his least impressive performance. There was a neutral zone turnover. There was a defensive zone turnover. A couple times where he was sort of hung out to dry, where some of the forwards left the zone a little bit early, and I'm sure that is one of the criticisms we'll hear from Luke Richardson after the game was, as things were going on and as the team was getting frustrated, they kind of lost their structure a little bit, trying to create some offense. So Roos was hung out to dry a few times. Also, though, to his credit, had a couple good looks. I think he hit the post one time, sent a shot just high. He's got a knack for getting a puck through traffic. So as we get into what they're going to do at defense probably today and probably more so tomorrow with Seth Jones out, with Alec Regula up, Philip Roos will be front and center in that conversation. I do want to point out one guy in a positive way.
Six games for Roos.
Really?
Yeah.
He's played 6 of the 10 games?
This was the 10th game. He flip-flopped with Caleb the first few games, and then Seth went down, and he's been in a few.
It doesn't feel like that many. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, the one guy I wanted to spotlight was Andreas Athanasiou, and we've had some laughs at his expense because he's not the greatest finisher in the world. But when you want to talk about a guy who's had impactful moments in every single Blackhawks game this season, it's Andreas Athanasiou. He is making things happen. He is attacking. He got a goaltender interference penalty of his own for crashing the net hard. No, again, nothing intentional, but he's going hard at the net. I think he deserves a little bit more credit than he's gotten so far. I really like what he's brought to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we, in the last few games, we've seen what he can do when he's able to finish those chances that he creates. Yeah. But that hasn't been the consistent part of his game. The consistent part of his game is just creating those chances. And his speed individually is able to create those chances just by being able to get behind the defense, being able to spring a breakout. He has that innate ability. And that speed, too, along with his line mates of Kane and Domi, that can open up the ice for them as well. And I think we're eventually going to see that come to fruition because as he continues to create these chances off of rush chances, off of breakouts, off of beating guys to pucks that are dumped into the Blackhawks offensive zone, that space is going to start opening for guys like Patrick Kane, especially, and Max Domi as well. And yeah, I think Athanasiou is, he's great to talk to. He seems like he's pretty readily available to the media, which is great. He's got a good influence on the team so far in his short time in Chicago, and yeah, his speed is such a difference maker, and it's something that the Blackhawks don't usually haven't seen consistently on their rosters over the last few years. A guy that he gets compared to a lot is Victor Stalberg.
Yeah,
but I think he's
better than him.
Even more than that, more than that. He's got a little bit more to his game than Stalberg did, where he was just kind of just like, I'm just going to straight line go for it. Athanasiou seems like he's got a little bit more of a complete game to him, but the speed is still the big thing.
Yeah, Nate had a comment that Athanasiou has to stay out of the box. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
He also needs to stop pitching at the refs. He does that all the time.
Yeah, and Troy Murray was just like, or Vosser said, team's penalty leader, Andres Athanasiou, and I was like, well, he did get a 10-minute for barking at the ref. That really wasn't a penalty leader call, but I think if he's able, he's obviously way more valuable on the ice than in the box.
Yeah, a couple other chats I want to get to real quick. We got a $2 super chat from Windy City Hockey. Thank you for that, Hockey. He says Cizikas dropped his shoulder to drive into Stalock. Yeah, I think that's what the referee saw. That's why he got the game misconduct. Wonder if there will be a suspension coming for that. Probably not, but perhaps.
Yeah.
One here from Sam where he says, if Connor Murphy was a free agent, would anyone give him 4 years at $4.5 million per? Yes. There would be teams lining up to pay him that. There is a weird, not so weird as the Seth Jones haters, but a weird conglomerate of Hawks fans that don't see the things that Connor Murphy does on a night-to-night basis. He is now with Jones out. He is going to be drawing the top matchups. Mm-hmm. He plays physically. He blocks shots. He is basically, and some publication did this a couple of years ago, he is basically Nicholas Hjalmarsson. They're basically the same exact player. And I know that's sacrilegious to say because of everything Nicholas Hjalmarsson accomplished here, but defensively, they're very, very similar. And if you want to call Connor Murphy the poor man's Nicholas Hjalmarsson, that's fine. I think that's fair. But Connor Murphy is a top 4 defenseman on any team in the NHL, I think. And he plays his ass off. So is he perfect? No. Is he going to put up points? No. But that's not what he's here to do. He is, he is a physical defenseman whose main job is to defend and to stop the other team's top talent. And when that's your job, you're going to be looking at the stat sheet at the end of the night and say, wow, not great. Look at all he did. Look at his Corsi rating or whatever those things might be that you're looking at, and they won't look great. But he played 18-22 in this game. He had 2 hits. He had 2 block shots. That's Connor Murphy's game. So I don't know. There's a weird set of Hawks fans that just really don't like Connor Murphy's game. I don't understand it. Update here from Windy City Hockey. Richardson said that Stalock is in a concussion protocol. Definitely not a shock there.
Yeah, that was tweeted out by our own Greg Boysen.
Yeah, Greg just tweeted that out moments ago.
Great.
We kind of expected that to be the case, given the hit that it was.
Let's put a pin in that because there's one more thing I want to get to real quick that was also in the comments. I'm sorry, they're coming fast and furious, so I lost track.
Thanks, guys, for being
we were
so
talking
active.
to, me and Greg were talking during the game about Mackenzie Entwistle on the power play. Mm-hmm. And I like Mackenzie Entwistle. I think he's a solid player, plays his ass off, really good kid. It's time to give Sam Lafferty a look on the power play. Robert says Entwistle has no business being in the NHL, let alone power play time over Lafferty and Dickinson. Asinine coaching. That might be a touch too far. Dickinson, by the way, was on the power play. He had 3 minutes and 46 seconds of power play time in this game, so he gets power play time. But yeah, I think it's time to swap out Entwistle and Lafferty because Entwistle is just slow.
Yeah,
he's just a slow man.
I like Mackenzie Entwistle as a bottom 6 option. It's just this Blackhawks team doesn't really have the offensive talent right now where you can fill out 2 power play units and be like, yeah, that's a full number 1 power play unit, and that's a full number 2 power play unit. They're kind of filling in some gaps with guys who on most other NHL teams would not be getting power play time, hence Jason Dickinson and Mackenzie Entwistle getting power play time. I don't think Entwistle's game, he doesn't have enough the high level skill at the NHL level where he can be effective on the power play unless you're parking him in front of...
And they're not doing that.
Which they're not, yeah. Unless you were parking him in front of the opposing goalie and saying, here, just be a screen, be a guy trying to get garbage goals, he could be fine doing that, but he's also, again, not the best option to do that. So trying to get him out there in a skill role is just not effective. And yeah, I would much rather see a guy who has more speed to his game, like Lafferty, be able to get some opportunities like that. Yeah.
He kind of lacks the finish a little bit as well.
Sounds like a guy we just talked about.
Yeah, but I just think that he is a much better option on the power play. And
the thing with Lafferty is he plays penalty kill. He plays tough minutes. It might just be a workload thing.
Sure, absolutely, it could be. That's for sure. But if Jason Dickinson's out there, I think you can give Lafferty a look too.
Yeah,
I just want to see. You know what I mean? I just want to see a different look because Entwistle fan, but just I was kind of surprised when they were using him on the power play at all.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's still there is kind of surprising to me.
Well, and he also does penalty kill, so I don't know. Maybe the workload argument's out the door. I don't know.
All right, so Stalock in the concussion protocol. The Hawks have a real dilemma here in goal. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I wonder if we'll get this answer from Luke Richardson, and Greg will join us here in a little bit, like we said. Is Mrazek, who is skating with the team, healthy enough to sit on the bench and come in if Soderblom gets hurt? Is he okay enough just in case that happens? You give it to, I said Soderblom. You give it to Soderblom every start until you deem Mrazek 100% or as close to 100% as he's going to get. But if something should happen, is Mrazek right now healthy enough to come in and spell him for a little while? That's the question. Because if he's not, they have to sign or trade for somebody.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring Jackson Stauber up here.
Jackson Stauber left his last game.
Oh yeah, he got hurt too. Yeah. That's right.
So it's down to Mitchell Weeks was called up from the ECHL to the Ice Hogs, and Dylan Wells, who is on an AHL only contract with the Ice Hogs. Those are their two goaltenders right now in Rockford, with Soderblom being up here. So yeah, they're either signing one of those guys to an NHL deal, which is fine. They have the cap space to do that.
Yeah,
it's not gonna, we're not talking about a cap crunch issue here. It's fine for them to do that if they need to in a pinch. There's also some goaltenders on the NHL free agency market that could step in if they needed to. But yeah, I think...
Do you want me to go through that list real quick?
I went through it before. It's okay. Some names on there. I tweeted it out. Braden Holtby is on that list, but he's also pseudo-retired, so I don't think that's an option. Former Blackhawk and former Ice Hog JF Berube is out there. He's familiar with that I-90 drive.
Sure.
Local guy Garrett Sparks. Local man Garrett Sparks is out there. Hard pass. And then a couple other guys. Tyler Parsons is out there as well. I think the easiest route is to and they had to do this. It was either last year or the year before. They had to do this with Cale Morris.
Yeah.
And he was available, by the way. Also available. He was on an AHL deal. They signed him to his NHL deal. It didn't hurt them at all cap-wise. So I would think if Mrazek is not good enough physically to dress, that it'll be a situation where they'll probably sign Dylan Wells to an NHL deal, throw somebody into the mix in Rockford for a short time, just to kind of piece things together. I think the risk you run with Mrazek is, knock on wood, let's say Soderblom starts a game, right? And you say, okay, Mrazek's not 100%. We probably won't start him until he's ready to go. But then something like this happens.
Yeah.
Like what happened tonight. And, Arvid gets hurt, and then you're kind of throwing Mrazek in there, who's already kind of also hurt. So I don't think it would be a great situation. And given his history of groin injuries and issues, I think the team is really making it a point to try and make sure that they're not rushing him back. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. But I think the most likely route will be seeing Dylan Wells get an NHL deal here for just a short-term replacement.
A couple comments. Sam said, bring in Comesso. Nope, he's in college. Can't do
college. I could do that technically.
Yeah, but no.
Jack LaFontaine did that last season with the Hurricanes, but that's a bad idea. That's a waste of. No,
yeah,
it's a waste.
And Bijan says Delia is a Vancouver Canuck, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
So there you go with
Abbotsford
that one.
Canuck.
Abbotsford, thank you. Greg is saying he's with Jeremy Collin again. Greg is standing by, but first we want to mention the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. Excited to have ComEd on board with us. They offer a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across their territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor, outdoor lighting, and networked lighting controls, making these projects even more cost-effective than before. Visit ComEd.com/poweringbiz now to start saving money and energy. To start a project, contact them at 1-855-433-2700 for more information. Email businessee@comed.com or publicsectoree@comed.com. Welcome to the CHGO family. ComEd, we are very happy to have them.
It's a good reminder
for the ride.
that our energy bills will be due.
Yes.
At least mine is. And if you're saving, some money on your energy bill by being more energy efficient, you can use those savings and getting yourself a great deal on tickets to your favorite sporting events or concerts or whatever you want to go see with the Game Time app. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to your favorite sporting events, concerts, and shows. Ever wanted to sit 50-yard line at the big old Bears game coming up on November 6th? I think there's a event that's going to be involving the CHGO crew on November 6th. I believe, yes, the official CHGO tailgate, Chicago versus Miami in the professional football grounds. You can go to that by going to allchgo.com and following the link to get your tickets to the CHGO tailgate event. You don't need a ticket to the game to go to the tailgate, but you do need a ticket to the tailgate. The ticket to the tailgate includes all kinds of food and drink options. There's a ticket with parking options, which is great. But if you do feel so inclined to go to the tailgate and join us, the CHGO crew, out there at Michigan and Roosevelt before the Chicago and Miami pro football game, do that. Come out, have a good time. If you feel so inclined to go to the game afterwards, check out the Game Time app. It'll be, hours and minutes before kickoff. You'll be getting the best deals and options on tickets that will be available for that game. And you're not going to find a better deal this season on Bears tickets, Blackhawks tickets, Bulls tickets, whatever you want to go and see than on the Game Time app. And if you do find a better ticket price, I don't think you will, but if you do, you can go to Game Time and say, here, I found it on this different site, and they will match that offer to make sure that you are getting the best ticket price through Game Time. So if you love CHGO, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description below and join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all of your favorite events. Download that Game Time app and get your tickets to Blackhawks games, Bears games, Bulls games, all the games in the links in the descriptions of all of our great CHGO shows.
Yeah, and on your way down to that, make sure you click that like button if you're watching us on YouTube right now. We would greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Hit that like button. Get in the habit of any time you join us here on CHGO to smash that like button. All right, let's go out to the United Center and bring in our buddy Greg Boysen. What's up, Greg? What do we hear? What do we learn post-game from Luke Richardson?
Not a whole lot, but obviously the biggest concern of the night was Alex Stalock. After that play from Casey Zizekas, Connor Murphy said after the game that absolutely the right call was made. There was no reason for him to make that kind of contact, targeting the head when he wasn't pushed in. Zizekas is a guy that lives on that edge, and he crossed that edge tonight. I don't want to say disappointment, but I was surprised there was no response. After all we heard about Max Domi, and you can't let anybody mess with your teammates, your goalie gets run over 3 minutes in the game while your fourth line is on the ice. We're talking Jujhar Khaira, Boris Kachuk, Reese Johnson. What are those three guys there for? And they all kind of just stood there and didn't do. I mean, if you're going to jump Patrick Kane when he gets hit at the end of a tie game, how do you not try and defend your goalie 3 minutes into a game when he was taken out on a play? That's the only issue I had with that. I think the right call was made. Luke Richardson said Alex Stalock is in the beginnings of concussion protocol. I guess he's not officially in concussion protocol until tomorrow. They're going to see how he feels in the morning, and if he has concussion symptoms, then he will be in concussion protocol. It's a little lighthearted moment because he first said COVID protocol, and we're all kind of like, say what now? Like, wait, Zizekas gave him a concussion and COVID on the same play? What a jerk. But no, he just missed
skating by.
But he made it sound like Stalock's going to be out for a little while. Like, this is not going to be a quick turnaround. When talking about Arvid Soderblom, he said, hey, he's going to have a workload here. Peter Mrazek's not coming back for Thursday. That's not happening. He just skated for the first time today. This is a guy with a history of groin injuries, coming off another groin injury. They are not putting him in that game. So he was asked, what do you do goaltender-wise? He says, that's management's job. I'll say hello to whoever they bring in tomorrow at practice. So, and for the record, there was an emergency goalie on standby. He was in pads in the hallway. Luke Richardson said he didn't know who he was or his name, and he preferred to keep it that way. No offense to whoever the young man was.
No Scott Foster situations tonight.
Well, it's interesting. That's going to be a dilemma. We were right before he jumped on. We were sort of talking about it because Stauber's down. So maybe Wells comes up and they figure something out, or JF Berube's out there. He can come and show us his big Berubes and play some goal in a pinch. I don't know what it's going to be, but yeah, that's why Kyle Davidson makes the big bucks. You got to figure that out.
The Ice Hogs play tomorrow night. So I know you mentioned maybe you bring up Dylan Wells. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think whoever you want here for practice tomorrow morning. So it's a really, really interesting situation here. So we'll see what happens. Ice Hogs have a game Wednesday night, and if Wells is the guy that they're going to sign to bring him up, then it's Mitchell Weeks' chance to get a crack for the Ice Hogs, because that's the next guy in line. So I don't think Mrazek is not far away. Luke Richardson this morning was asked, and he was hopeful for that West Coast trip to Los Angeles and Anaheim next weekend is when we'll see him back. So you're talking 2 games of Arvid Soderblom starting, who has proven that the team is in good hands with him in goal. It's not a major drop-off there. Some may argue it's an improvement. So if Dylan Wells is your backup against LA and the Jets, and then Mrazek's back for that return trip to LA, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be just kind of a short-term plan to just kind of, stick your finger in the hole of the leaky boat and just ride it out until Mrazek is able to go. So I don't have a problem with it. I think, like you said, Arvid Soderblom is really in a short sample size prove that he can handle an NHL workload. So if he's got to do it in a short time frame, I think that's fine. And again, like many people are saying in the comments, unfortunate for injuries, but this is totally fine for the tank.
Yeah, definitely.
This is not the worst case scenario for the situation that the Blackhawks are in. Obviously, you want the best for the health of Alex Stalock.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's look, and I think what we're seeing over the last 4 games is what we all thought we were going to see coming into the season. And I will still say, yes, they compete. And yes, when they're not playing the Islanders, they can be a little bit exciting, but they just don't have the horses to hang with most NHL teams. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's going to look like a lot of nights. And look, they got a late power play. They had the opportunity to tie up. If you didn't watch the game, the third Islanders goal was an empty netter by the ghost of Zach Parise. And the Hawks had a chance late to tie this game despite so few shots and so few chances. They were right there again at the end, like they've been in all of their losses. So they're going to stick around. They're going to entertain you for the most part, but it's a talent thing. And now, look, I think Soderblom is, you could argue could already be the best goalie in the system. Stalock is an adventure, and Mrazek, I think he's got a sub-90 save percentage this season. If not, it's very close to it. Soderblom just looks really solid to me. He's not spectacular, but he's in the right spots, and I have trust in him that if he starts, the Hawks are going to have a chance to win most games. Is he going to steal you a game? Probably not, but he's not going to cost you one, it doesn't seem like. I've never seen anything in his game that alarms me. Right? Again, not elite in any way, shape, or form, but solid enough. And I think that he just has to hold down the fort, and whoever they bring up to back him up or whoever they sign, it's just his net until it can't be anymore, right? It's unfortunate. This is like kind of the one position that makes it really hard where, again, cap space not being an issue, so it's not a huge deal, but if they go in and sign a free agent, then Mrazek gets healthy, then Stalock is healthy, then what? Right? So now you've got this glut of rostered players, and that gets complicated. So it's a headache for Kyle Davidson. Again, that's his job, so fine. But it just makes things very, very complicated. And you also don't want to bring a kid up who's not ready for the NHL. Greg, before you jumped on, we were talking about Entwistle on the power play. Just as you and I were during the game, and wanted to give you the opportunity to give your thoughts on that on the air instead of just in the press box between gummy bears.
Yeah, it's just
contaminated gummy bears, by the way.
Yeah, they had some strange French-Canadian fingerprints on them.
Tell the story. You can tell it. He's not listening.
Yeah, I witnessed Mark Bergevin go barehanded reach into the gummy bear bin. Didn't use the spoon. That's for
Bergevin just barehanding gummy bear.
Oh, God.
What are you doing, dude? There's a spoon.
Yeah, I gave the gummy bears like a good period before I went back and was like, okay, the jar is completely full. These are obviously fresh gummy bears. And Mark Bergevin's nowhere around, so I'm going to grab him before he comes back.
Oh, man. That's
anyway.
rough.
Unfortunately, that was the highlight of the night because that game sucked. But, Mackenzie Entwistle on the power play. Let's not do that anymore. I like Mackenzie Entwistle. He's a great kid. Awesome to talk to. Does his job really well when he's put in his specific role, but he should never be on an NHL power play. He doesn't skate well enough to create his own chances. He doesn't shoot well enough to when he gets a chance. Like, he doesn't pass well enough to set somebody else up. It's kind of like he's just there to fill a position when he's on the power play. And I'm not trying to badmouth Mackenzie Entwistle. I like him. Just he's not a power play player. But the problem is, who else do you put there? I mean, we mentioned Sam Lafferty because he's got that speed, he's got that energy. He's a guy that could crash the net. But basically, the only guys you have to put out there are guys who just crashed the net. So until Tyler Johnson comes back, I think that's kind of where we're at.
Well, you would think that's how they would use Entwistle. Just plant him in front of the net and have him cause a screen, and then maybe one hits him.
Skating around, and it's not.
Yeah.
This is the stuff we talked about Colleton for all those times, and I'm not making the comparison of Luke Richardson and Colleton, but you got to put guys in positions to succeed, and the way they're using him on the power play is not putting him in a position to succeed. They're not using his strength, and that's not a knock. Again, that's not a knock on McKenzie because he's being asked to do something that he probably can't at this level.
Right. Yeah,
I mean,
the lack of
getting the opportunity, but I'm ready for someone else to get the opportunity.
Yeah, and look, I think we talked about it before the season began when we saw him getting power play time. It was an interesting concept. Big body with probably some untapped offensive potential, but it's been 10 games now, and he's been a complete non-factor on the power play. I'm struggling to recall even like a remotely good scoring chance from him on the power play or anything.
Well, he had that one shot tonight when you and I were sitting there talking about, hey, let's get him off the power play, and then he gets a scoring chance like 5 seconds later. Didn't score, but it was kind of like, hey, okay, you two shut up. I can hear you because there's nobody in the building tonight. But, let's try something different.
Yeah, I feel like the opportunities for Entwistle have been few and far between, but the chances that he has had, I think you just kind of see where the talent level is at, and it's just, like you said, Greg, it's just not there for an NHL caliber power play. It's just not effective enough.
Yeah, he's not a shooter. He's not a sniper. And if you're not going to use him to be a net front presence guy, then what are we doing? You put him out there to stand in front of the goalie and take away his eyes and have a puck hit off his thigh and go into net, like give us 4 or 5 Artem Anisimov specials. I'm all for that. That's more suited for his game. But you got him above the dot trying to score on wrist shots, and that's just not his game.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to the thing you led with when you jumped on, Greg. We got to it a little bit to start the show. Was the lack of response from the Blackhawks after Stalock gets hit and knocked down. And I said, and I think you and I talked about it. I don't know if it was on a show or off a show, but in reference to the lack of response when Rafi Torres hit Marian Hossa, was I think you see a lot of guys when they see a teammate that injured that they just are so concerned that they don't even really think to respond. I wonder if that's a little bit of what we saw in this one, because Stalock went down quickly. He went down hard. He was motionless. And one of my pet peeves as a hockey fan is when a guy is boarded and clearly unconscious, you'll have scrums around those guys where their lifeless bodies are on the ice and they're knocked out, and guys are like hitting, pushing around the guy, and their bodies are just like a dead fish on the ice. Like, stop.
That's scary.
At some point, you got to stop and be careful and protect your teammate. So I wonder if that was a little bit of it. But I think you're right, Greg. Like, it was a little disappointing not to see someone at least grab Cizikas and give him a what for.
Yeah, nobody even made a move towards him. They just kind of stood there. I mean, I don't know if it was because, part of the reason that Cizikas was able to drive to the net like that is because they got caught in the line change. So maybe the guys that were on the ice didn't really see the play happen because they were making a line change or they were trying to get back quick enough. I don't know, but you see your goalie lying there motionless. I'd at least like to see a guy take a swat at the guy that put him there. I'm not asking for blood, but some sort of response. I was a little surprised that happened, especially, again, after all the cheerleading we got about Max Domi standing up for Patrick Kane in the last game. I guess if you're not, I don't want to say different rules apply for different guys, but somebody should have done something. Maybe they were hoping, maybe if Cizikas didn't get the game misconduct and as soon as he jumped out of the box, someone's going after him to cash in that receipt. I don't know, but it's weird how one play everybody wants to defend their teammate, and another play happens and it's just kind of like, oh, we're just gonna stand here. So. Again, I wasn't on the ice. I can't get in the head of these guys, but I thought we should have seen something, especially when this team has been bragging the whole season that they are so together and they're such a tight group and they've gelled. Then everybody on that bench should have been looking for 53 to rip his head off.
I think the point you made, Greg, is one that kind of thinking about too is that after the Max Domi fight in the last game, where he's standing up for Patrick Kane in the moment, which is unquestionably what you want to see from a guy like Domi and standing up for a player like Kane. But that took a power play off of the board in a tie game in the third period, late in the third period.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe there had been some discussions internally with the team from Luke Richardson or coaching staff or whatever, where they say like, hey, I'm not going to ever say don't stand up for your teammate, but also have some situational awareness.
Yep.
So I wonder if
you see that ref's arm up,
I wonder if if the players on the ice may have thought, hey, we have a power play here. It may be 2 minutes, it may be 5 minutes, whatever. And the point you just made, Greg, where they say, hey, he comes back on the ice, that's when we force him to answer for running Stalock. And then after the penalty is first assessed, then the refs come out and say, oh, game misconduct, he's out. And then you don't have the opportunity to, make amends, so to say, for the penalty. So I wonder if that may have been the case where you actually just didn't get the right opportunity to do it, to not only, stand up for Stalock in some way, but also have the power play opportunity still stand there. Because you don't want to be the guy who, after Max Domi stands up for Patrick Kane, erases a power play late in the third period in a tie game. You don't want to be the next guy to go after Casey Zizekas and wipe out what would have been a 5-minute power play or take away from that. So I wonder if that may have been, too, something that came to play for the guys on the ice.
Possibly, and I'm the guy that argued for situational awareness the other night with the Max Domi thing, but to me, scoreless game 3 minutes in the game, that's when you go crazy. That's when you lose your shit and go after the guy, because you've got 57 minutes to make up and get more power plays.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, there's so much that happens. It's a snap judgment. It happens in the heat of the moment. So many factors go into that. I'm not going to stand here and say I'm in the head of the 5 Blackhawks that were on the ice. It's just a little disappointing. So we'll see. Hopefully this isn't a trend that every game we're sitting here going, well, we got to defend our injured players. Let's stop getting our player injured and having guys take runs at them. But the biggest way you could have avenged that play was scoring at least once on that power play, and they didn't do crap on that power play. It was lousy. There was no urgency. Luke Richardson talked about it, saying that and Caleb Jones first in the locker room said, we let Alex down by not scoring at least one goal on that power play. So they wore that, and Connor Murphy kind of echoed that too, saying, best way to make that hurt is by taking advantage of that power play, and they didn't do it. And Luke Richardson said there were a lot of moments, especially on the power play, where they waited just a second too long to either shoot or pass. And he said against a team like the Islanders, you have to be quick. You have to get that puck off your stick quickly, because if you wait for something else to open, it's never going to be there against a team that plays defense like them. So, that was Richardson's explanation for some of the failures, not only on the power play, but offensively as well, that they thought they could be a little more patient and wait for something to open up, but the Islanders never gave them anything.
Yeah. Back to the Zizekas thing, Shep brings up in the chat. He said, I think it's more about not hitting number 88 ever. And that's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of something you don't want to say, but it's probably a little bit true, where the value of the player being hit is a lot higher when it's Patrick Kane than when it's Alex Stalock, right? Like,
but he's your starting goalie.
I know. I agree with you. And I think there should have been a response. But I do think, like, Domi sees Kane get hit and says, oh, hell no, I cannot possibly stand here and tolerate that. That's Patrick effing Kane, right? As opposed to it's Alex Stalock. I know it's a bad way to think, but I do think like there's a bit of reality to that the star player has more gravitas than the backup goalie. Yeah. And I think there's probably more of an expectation on the players too to stand up for somebody like Kane versus Stalock. But Mario, I think you're right. Like, that's your goalie.
Yeah, and
you can't let that happen.
And from everything we've heard from players, is Stalock is a guy who
they love him.
They love in the locker room, and and is easily a likable player, likable teammate. The times that we've been able to talk to him, he's been great. So I think it's not necessarily just the value to the on ice product. I mean, he's a guy that people like in the locker room. So it is still baffling why there wasn't a response in the moment. Again, I think maybe there might have been something of the instinct, as I see a lot of people saying in the chat. There might be something of the instinct that was a little bit taken away after what we saw from Max Domi in the last game.
Yeah.
Well, there was a little bit of a response in the form of Andreas Athanasiou, who when he had the opportunity to not stop and get some contact on Ilya Sorokin, he took full advantage of that and got a 2-minute minor for goalie interference. It wasn't the same type of play, but you could argue his contact was far more intentional than Zikis's was, but it was less dangerous because he didn't hit him in the head.
Right.
So there was a little bit like, hey, turnabout's fair play. You're going to take a run at our goalie. I'm going to take a run at yours. And, little gamesmanship there. I guess Anthony C.U. was a little upset that Ty Domi overtook him for the team leading penalty minutes, so he had to go and get a couple minors in that first period.
Put $1 in a Ty Domi jar.
Hey, we don't have
it's his
one,
birthday.
So until we do, I'm going to keep saying it. It's in my head. I have no idea. It's not like Ty Domi is a name I've said a whole lot in the past 25 years. So
Seriously.
I don't know. Must have been that fight I saw him against Bob, 20 years ago against Bob Probert. Just burned in my brain.
It is his birthday, by the way, Ty Domi. Yeah. So Max Domi put a nice birthday greeting to his father on his Instagram. At Max on Instagram. He got in that one quick.
Yeah.
But pretty cool. It's Max Domi just kind of reacting to his dad's fight videos. Steven has it on the screen here. But if you got Instagram, follow Max on Instagram. He's really good. Like he's a good social media character, Max Domi.
He's got some personality.
The NHL had one idea. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. And they publish like a new one every day with like the same 5 players.
Nice.
And Max Domi is one of them. But yeah, go check that out. It's pretty cool. Him talking about his dad, who is one of the toughest dudes in hockey history. Mm-hmm. Happy birthday. I can't say I hate Ty Domi. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's probably a great guy, but he's punched too many people I like.
Ty, it is your birthday.
Exactly. Right. Give him the office treatment.
On one more trip around the sun.
Yeah.
We got a question. I see Lebowski's asking, Ducks and Sharks are playing. Who are you rooting for? We're rooting for overtime. We want all those games between Anaheim and San Jose to go to overtime.
It's 4:29 left in the second, so we got some time to get there.
Yeah.
But,
I saw Eric Carlson had 2 goals on the same shift.
He sure did.
He's back, man.
Yeah.
He sure did.
Good stuff.
Hey, that's the theory of someone's got to score, right?
Shine up that Norris trophy.
Yeah. All right, before we wrap up and get to the 4 stars of the game, Greg, you and I had the chance to take in some of the Native American Heritage Night festivities before the game and during. We ran into Danny Wirtz, who was down just like among the people. He was not
people.
He was not on stage. He was not talking on the mic. He was just watching the celebration kind of from behind the crowd a little bit. We got a chance to chat with him for a little bit. But just really, they did a nice job. It's a shame that it was such a small crowd to see the great things they did. But the pregame festivities in the atrium were very cool to see. You've had Native Americans who were very, very old to young children, all participating in these native dances and rituals. They had a little bit of an extra feature online today about Blackhawks legacy. Obviously, the Alex Stalock and Peter Mrazek special goalie masks designed by Native American artists. I think they really did a good job today, beyond what they usually do with the land acknowledgement, which is wonderful. They also every game they honor service members, and both service members were Native American women, which is very, very cool to see. So awesome. I think they knocked it out of the park, and hopefully those things continue, because education is what what the Native American tribes have told the Blackhawks is one of their big fears is just erasure. It's just being forgotten about and their culture disappearing. So any way you can amplify those things in front of 12,000 or 20,000 or whatever, if 10% of the people took something away from that, I thought it was great. I thought they did a really nice job.
They also had some of those on the game broadcast on TV as well. I don't see a ton of the TV games at home when they're at home, but I'm not certain that the land acknowledgement is always on the TV broadcast. But it was tonight, which I thought was a good touch. And yeah, like you said, the education and investment in the education, learning about it, and also spreading the word that the Blackhawks have done, I think is coming from a genuine place, and I think it's more than I think we've seen in many years. So the more that they do that, the better, and I hope that they continue to really amplify those Native American voices and heritage.
And I will say too, there is a lot of sincerity to it. It is not lip service. It is not just doing it to prevent controversy or push away the logo discussion for another day. I truly believe in conversations I've had on and off the record with Blackhawks leadership that this is something they do take very seriously, especially since Danny and Jamie took over things. Danny Wirtz and Jamie Faulkner took over. There has been a amplified investment in those communities, both financial and with their time and their energy and those sort of things. And they really are
as well.
I'm sorry?
On their platform as well.
Yes, they're using their platform to amplify those messages and those voices. And that's, I think and I don't want to speak for Native Americans, I can't, but I think when you look at the issues facing the Native American community, the logo is very low on their priority list. There's a lot of very, very important things that they are going through and dealing with to this day that the Hawks are helping them address. And that to me is that's important. That's important. And whether or not the logo should continue is a conversation that will go on until it's gone and probably beyond that if it ever is. But what they're doing so far seems sincere, seems genuine, and seems to really be helping. So it's great.
Yeah. I was glad we went down to see that. It was really cool just to see all the traditional, clothing and face paint and headdresses. It was so cool, and to hear the chants and the singing and the drum, and just to tack on what you said. This isn't lip service. Danny Wirtz is passionate about this. When he came over and talked to us, he's genuinely excited about how many different dance troupes they had, and he was like, make sure you get upstairs and see the feature on the war drum and learning. It's so important we educate. We didn't just want to have a guy beating the drum out there and be like, hey, it's the same guy that's in the 300 level with his drum from home. No, they gave you the story about what the war drum represents and its history, and then they had the drum circle before the national anthem. So he's got a lot of pride in the Native American education that they're doing. So it's not just hey, look what we're doing so we don't have to change our logo. He means it, and so does Jamie Faulkner when they talk about it. I believe that wholeheartedly.
All right, let's get to the fourth stars of the night. All right, the 3 stars of the game. Number 3 for the Chicago Blackhawks with his 6th goal of the season, Jonathan Toews. Anders Lee picks up the 2nd star of the game. He scored his 5th goal of the season in the first period. And the number 1 star goes to Brock Nelson, who scored his 4th goal of the season, the game-winning goal as well. So they are the 3 stars. It is time for us to give our 4 stars of the game. I'm going to go with Arvid Soderblom.
Yeah, hard to argue against that.
Greg?
I, too, am going to go with Arvid Soderblom.
I think I'm going to change it up here. I'm going to go with Arvid Soderblom. We're gonna break the rules here. There literally was no one else to choose from who was anywhere noteworthy in this game. So yeah, Arvid coming in a game that he was not expecting to play, and came in and honestly, if the Blackhawks offense was anywhere to be seen tonight, he gave them an opportunity to be competitive in this game, and just wasn't in the cards for the guys playing in front of him.
Yeah, he talked a little bit after the game. Arvid is not a man of many words. That's still part of his game that he's developing. But he says he's far more confident now than he was the brief time he was in the NHL last year. He had that brief appearance last season. It wasn't great for him, but he says he's more confident. And Luke Richardson keeps saying how impressed he is about how calm he is. And maybe that's a contrast, because if you watch Alex Stalock for 3 periods and you see Arvid Soderblom for 5 minutes, it's totally different. But maybe it's not just the black pads anymore. There is a comparison to Corey Crawford there between Soderblom and him, because he is just so compact, very little wasted motion, just like Crawford. And a lot of people said, Corey Crawford never made these huge, big saves because he never had to, because he was always in the right position. Kind of like the people that criticized Ryan Sandberg when he played second base. He never dove for a ball. He never had to. And Soderblom kind of has that. He never makes that sprawling across the net save because he's rarely ever caught out of position. His positioning is so good for a young goaltender. And then, of course, I put that on Twitter, and then 3 seconds later, he gave up the goal to Brock Nelson. But it was to his glove side, so I'm not wrong.
There you go. All right, Greg, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it, man. Have a safe drive home. Yep. We will talk to you tomorrow at 2:30 for our remote edition of CHGO Blackhawks.
I'll be at practice tomorrow morning and see if we get any further updates on Alex Stalock and the goalie situation.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right, Greg, thanks, man. Everybody make sure you're following Greg on Twitter at Greg Boysen. And now it is time to assign our DraftKings King of the Game.
I wonder who it could be.
King of the Game today goes to, you guessed it, Arvid Soderblom.
King
28
Arvid.
saves, 2 goals against, a 93.3 save percentage. Coming off the bench, ice cold and not expecting to play. And usually when a backup goalie comes in, it's after there's been 3 or 4 goals scored, and they start to get in the mindset of, okay, I probably might be coming in at some point, so I got to start getting my mind right. This was no warning, right off the hop. He probably barely had his baseball cap on.
Yeah.
So props to Arvid Soderblom for coming in and keeping this game close, and he absolutely did. It was a 2-1 game until the empty netter by the ghost of Zach Parise. So solid game for him. He is our DraftKings King of the Game. And hockey fans, it is time to hit the ice again. And thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you're in for the season of a lifetime. New customers, listen to this. Bet $5 on any team and get $200 in free bets if they win. That is a great deal, and we love playing those parlays. They're so much fun. If you haven't done the parlays yet, you can turn small bets into bigger bets with same-game parlays. You go on the DraftKings app, you pick out a couple things you like. Like, let's say you think Patrick Kane's going to score, you think it's going to be the over, and you think, you take the Hawks on the money line. You combine those bets, it increases the odds, and you hit those, and you get an even bigger payout. It's a really fun way to play. When those hit, it is the best feeling in the world. And it's a way, if you want to bet like $1 or $2, you can turn $1 into $50 if your parlay hits.
Yeah.
So they're just a ton of fun to play.
Get real adventurous.
Yeah. The best thing, DraftKings is safe and secure and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code CHGO. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $200 in free bets if they do. That's code CHGO at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes in the description here for details.
If you were to hit one of those parlays on DraftKings, you are going to have some extra money to spend. And if you want to spend it on something good, get yourself some Game Time tickets. Get yourself some Shady Rays. Shady Rays, they never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change that. and you don't have to break the bank to get quality sunglasses this fall because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. They are quality sunglasses, premium, polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone's lifestyle. The best thing about Shady Rays, and the thing that I wish I had on my former pair of sunglasses, was their protection program. It is the best in all of eyewear. Lost or broken, they will fully replace those Shady Rays shades free and no questions asked. So if you're like me, took them on a boat, had a couple beverages, tried to tie the boat to a pier, and forgot that your glasses were right there on your T-shirt, and they are now at the bottom of the lake, you could have gotten them replaced by Shady Rays for free. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays, they're running their deepest deal of the season. When you use the promo code CHGO, you're going to get 50% off of 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays shades when you go to shadyrays.com. That's basically buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54, and you can redeem that only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all of their newest and best shades. Again, the promo code for that 50% off 2 or more pairs deal is CHGO.
All right, it's almost time to wrap up, but before we do, we got to update the tank standings.
Yeah.
Woo, here we go. Big moves for the Hawks after this one. This loss helped out in the tank standings.
Regulation
big
losses.
Time. Yep. Leading the tank standings, the Ducks at 2-6-1 with 5 points. The Arizona Coyotes 2-4-1 with 5 points. San Jose with 6 points, 3-8-0. The Columbus Blue Jackets are 3-7-0. They've got 6 points. Same for the Canucks, who have the same amount of points in 9 games. The Blackhawks, who were, what were they last night? Like 20. They're high.
They would have been 24th had they
24th?
won. They were, was it 14th?
Yeah,
like that.
So they're 10th now.
Yes.
In the tank standings, 4-4-2 with 10 points in 10 games. That's an 82 point pace, if my math is correct.
Yes.
So
That won't get it done.
not quite Connor Bedard level, but I think it's safe to assume that, especially if your number 1 and number 2 goalies are out, those losses might start stacking up a little bit. So.
Got some up to the minute stats here. Arizona currently leading. 6 minutes left in the third period, 2-1 over the Florida Panthers. Who would have seen that coming? The Vancouver Canucks are down 4-2 late in the third period against the New Jersey Devils. Red hot New Jersey Devils. And right now in the second intermission, tied at 4 apiece. It's a barn burner between the Ducks and the Sharks. So we'll keep an eye on that. Fun note about the tank standings, the Blackhawks at 4-4-2. They have the same record as the Pittsburgh Penguins, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the updated standings
Penguins
here.
lost tonight in OT to the Bruins.
They have the same record as the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sound like contenders to me.
How about that, folks?
All 3 of those teams on an 82-point pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? I am just a math dude. All right, we're going to wrap things up. We're running late. We are back tomorrow at 2:30. We're going to dive into how the Hawks should handle Alec Regula. Now that he's up, I saw him in the press box looking very sad. He was in a suit and a winter cap.
It was like 70 degrees today.
You find a look that works and you stick with it.
Come on.
Ian Mitchell was up there with him too. I don't know if they were barehanding gummy bears like Mark Bergevin was. But by the way, little note, lots of scouts at Hawks games lately. Bob Murray.
I wonder why.
Was there the last 2 games. He's with Calgary. We saw an Avalanche scout there tonight. Dirk Graham is a scout for the Wild.
He was there on...
No, he's with the Sharks, right?
Sharks. He was there also on Sunday.
Yeah. And Bergevin was there. So there's a lot of people keeping our eye on the Blackhawks. So, people are shopping around. They know that it's bargain basement prices. So you never know when these things can break. So thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for being with us at this late night. Make sure you smash that like button before you go. And be sure to join us tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. live right here at CHGO. Thanks for joining us. For Mario and Greg, I'm Jay. This has been the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.